MJ Movie Reviews back again with an on-the-fly movie review. And this is a on-the-fly retro movie review, whatever you want to call it, for the re-release of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, starring the great Richard Dreyfuss, directed by the great Steven Spielberg. Wow. Of course, being a child of the 80s, of course, I've seen all the Spielbergian classics from the late 70s and throughout the 80s. I don't have to name them. We all know them. I've all seen them. Kind of around the time after Saving Private Ryan, I kind of didn't keep up with the Steven Spielberg movies. I think the last one that I remember just right off rip without even thinking, is Minority Report. That's what I can think of right offhand. But I think I might have seen a couple of the other ones after Minority Report. But I didn't keep up with them as much after that. And I love Minority Report. That's just a classic. I love that movie. I actually own it on DVD. Matter of fact, I got to go home and watch it. It's been a while since I saw that. But either way, out of the Spielbergian classics of the late 70s and the 80s, the one that I used to watch the least, and matter of fact, I actually had never seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind until I got older, until I was into my, 20s. And I saw it on, AMC. But I had never, ever watched it on regular TV. And I had never watched it in the 80s on video. And then when I finally saw the film, I liked it. I'm not being a hater here. There was a part of me that kind of felt maybe it was a little bit overrated. And I'm not saying that because you all know that I'm a pretty, well-rounded film viewer. I watch a lot of films from back in the day. I saw The French Connection a couple years ago, which I had never seen before, and I just think that movie is great. I don't care how dated it is. That movie's just fantastic. But there's just that part of me that just kind of felt like Close Encounters was a little bit overrated. Not to say that I didn't like the film. I liked it, but I still just kind of felt that maybe it was a slight bit overrated. Watching it again for the re-release, because I wanted to see it in a theater with a giant, and this was a really big screen. The screen was really big. It was like one of those XD, where it's kind of got a oval, not an oval, but you know what I mean. It's got the round look to it. The screen was really huge. I like the film more now seeing it, as opposed to when I saw it a couple years ago for the first time on AMC. But still, there's that part of me that feels that the film is a little bit overrated. Again, not taking anything from it. I just kind of feel like when you look in the great pantheon of Spielbergian movies from the 70s and the 80s, of course Jaws, of course E.T., even I go so far as to even say Duel, the first three indies, Poltergeist 1, that's a Steven Spielberg film. I know Tobe Hooper's name, but that's a Steven Spielberg movie. All of his movies are long, and all of them are made in that 70s, 80s style where the camera just kind of sits there and observes the people, which I love. I love that. But I personally feel Close Encounters kind of is the least thrilling of all the Spielbergian classics from back in the day. Because, even you look, Jaws is a very long film. It has very long character moments, but it has a lot of thrills with the character moments. Along with E.T. E.T. has got, well, I don't use the word thrills, but there's a lot more towards the end of that picture. But you get what I'm saying. There's kind of more there. And of course, Poltergeist has many thrilling aspects to it in the indies. That goes without saying. So, but I just kind of always got the feeling from Close Encounters that we get this great build-up. We get all this stuff with, politicians and military people keeping covert operations about these aliens. And kind of, for me, I never particularly felt like the payoff was big enough. I had a little bit of issues of kind of the stuff with Richard Dreyfuss and his family, because that's kind of left open. And it kind of leads you to believe, it's hinted at that maybe their marriage was kind of already crumbling. The thing with the aliens ultimately put the nail in the coffin. And Richard Dreyfuss kind of builds a new relationship with this woman whose child was kidnapped, just like Carol Ann, by the aliens. So, you know, it just kind of feels like there's a lot of build-up, and I never felt the payoff was big enough. Now, that's just for me. And that's not saying that it's bad or that it sucks. I'm not saying that. I still like the film. I still think it's sentimental and it's heartfelt like all of his movies. And my favorite parts of this movie are definitely Richard Dreyfuss is just the greatest. He's a great actor. And him and man, Terry Garr was like so fine back then. Oh my God, man. But you know, all of that stuff with Richard Dreyfuss and his family, I really love those scenes. I think that stuff is great. And the stuff with Richard Dreyfuss and I can't remember the actress's name, whose son is kidnapped by the aliens. I love those scenes too. All that stuff is good. And I kind of like the stuff where the aliens are kind of zooming around and creepy things are happening. All that stuff is cool. But when you ultimately meet them, I'm just saying, for me, I just didn't feel the payoff was big enough. For me. You know, but still, all in all, it's a fun, you know, sense of wonder, family-friendly, alien type of movie. Of course, E.T. is better. My personal opinion, nobody slam me. I might get some people who might go berserk about that comment, but you know, it's a good film. I enjoy Richard Dreyfuss. I enjoy the beautiful Terry Garr, and I enjoy the spectacle, the widescreen manner of it, and just the naturalism of the acting that they had back in those films. My issue is just now, I don't know if this is the director's cut version of the movie, because I do know a couple years ago they had released like a director's cut longer version. So I don't know if this version was the one that originally came out in theaters back in the 70s, or is this like a redone cut. I don't know. I'm assuming maybe this is a redone cut because the ending kind of did seem like it was a little bit long. But ultimately, good movie, fun family entertainment, and fantastic performances from the actors. I just felt the payoff wasn't enough, and I felt there could have been more thrills. Personally, not saying it's bad, but all in all, a classic. So that's my review of the re-release of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video. Don't forget to hit the little ding-a-ling-ling-ring-ring bell, and leave comments down below about, you know, Steven Spielberg films and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. RMJ Movie Reviews. I'll see you guys soon.